Every now and then, if you're lucky, you'll find an anime that you believe you could pleasantly watch for as long as it aired, so long as it maintains its quality. Many anime which fall under this belief seem to end up being on the shorter side as far as anime series go, only running for 12 to 24 episodes, or even less in rare cases, and that's for the adaptation as a whole, not for individual seasons. Although short-lived experiences, and with us wishing it never reaches its inevitable end, they nonetheless leave us satisfied with a conclusion that fulfills and helps us to fully realise the purpose of the story we had been entranced by all along, neatly tying together the end of the strings to give the series an ending it deserves. Whether or not we were aware of the journey it was taking us on to reach that end point all along, the therapeutically entertaining events that unfold each episode are more than enough, away from any underlying thematic qualities there may be, to give us that happy glow aura. When the themes or message of the series do present themselves more boldly to us, or just whenever we decide to notice it more in an otherwise ordinary scene, they do wonders to heighten our already intense emotional connection and investment to the story and its characters. Barakamon is very much one of these anime. Usually a slice of life setting with heavy doses of comedy, they become not so much critically revered in the ways that narratively challenging or complex anime can be, but instead comfort watches, which earn a comfortable spot on many favourites lists. Recommended for their heart-healing capabilities, Barakamon is a shining example of one of these mental aid bombs. When compared to shonen and drama shows, the happenings in the supposedly mundane daily lives of a cast of lovable characters seem trivial, but the opportunity to coexist with this spectrum of personalities in this stylized recreation of a realistic world is the very core reason for such anime and movies bringing us joy. These anime usually centre on a small, tight-knit community of people revolving around a single person who is our main character. There aren't really protagonists or antagonists because the characters don't exist to drive forward any important narrative, at least not important in the sense that the anime exists only to present it. Instead, they exist on their own, and the characters become the main source of development that requires audience attention over the series. When we first meet our main character, he's an immature, socially idle and pretentious artist, Sei Handa, whose life consists of nothing but calligraphy, a suitably serious traditional practice in Japan, of which its reputation as being such has caused Sei Handa to become the type of artist who creates pieces for no other reason than the scoring of points, in order to feed his unhealthy robotic perspective and lose sight of the true potential of the medium. He thinks he's smarter and more important and more talented than he is, or at least doesn't realise how else he could use what talent he does have. The truth is, although a prodigy he may be, earning numerous awards at a young age, his textbook style gives him the safest path to earning those points that impress the wrong people. It's almost like he's approaching calligraphy as an equation to solve, using theories and a meta-understanding of the medium to produce the mathematical best end result.
型にはまった字を書くね。手本のような字というべきか、ショーのために書いた字というべきか。
When a far more experienced, wise elder of his delivers what is in Sei Handa's eyes the worst possible negative critique of a specific piece he's created, a critique that goes against everything he thought putting into that piece and every expectation he had of the public's reaction to it, he just can't comprehend it. Why does this stupid old man, no matter how experienced he is over however many years he's been in this business, have to give such a naive critique when his words are so obviously influential on the opinions of other judges? That's the kind of feeling Handa had right then, and it took much more time and a huge change of scenery for him to see where the chairman was coming from. Sei Handa's first interactions with various aspects of the island tell us all we need to know about his character. It's funny seeing his textbook view of the world using cliché phrases like in a totally non-sarcastic manner and in reaction to information as important as something that could save you from drowning, rather than some random animal fact or something. He spends a part of this first day on the island with a mischievous little girl who represents the most pure form and potential of the tone of this island and its people. The daily life here and personalities of everyone Sensei encounters are so far removed from his experiences in the city that it poses as a refreshing, glaring contrast to us through him, even though we have very little context on the part of his home life. It's almost relying on the audience to realise the disparities between this island and their own environment, and it can be a common theme in Japanese entertainment to desire escaping the hectic, stressful city life. So instilled in this community is the wholesome atmosphere that even to a middle school aged girl, many things seem second nature to her, such as the willingness to apologise for upsetting someone even in a situation where she wasn't necessarily in the wrong, or all the people in the village coming to help the new neighbour move in. To her and everyone else, nothing that happens is out of the ordinary, and they wouldn't imagine it being any other way, but to Sensei it's like he's entered a foreign land. It's very firmly a comedy anime, with sometimes completely comical, unrealistic reactions and interactions expressed through the lively animation, but it still manages to be a genuinely heartfelt slice of life at the same time, by naturally incorporating life lessons and character development into these absurd scenarios. In many cases, the things that happen only seem so outlandish because they are such new experiences to Sensei. That's not to say that his presence is a total juxtaposition to his surroundings, because these new faces have so easily accepted him and he quite quickly becomes engrossed in everything, even if the depressed recluse side of his personality does still come out every now and then. Whenever Sensei gets down, after his neurotic tendencies get a hold of him, or if he's frustrated about not having any inspiration for a new piece, he can always rely on his friends to take him away and distract him through no real effort of their own, just a desire to play and have fun with him.
先生、今楽しかな？楽しくなかなら遊びに行こうや！
No matter what it might be, who he's with, or where he ends up, he forgets about his calligraphy and just tries to keep up with the events around him, whether that be a violent dodgeball game with neighbouring bullies or a venture to find a birthday present for Naru. It seems that at the end of each of these adventures, or sometimes right bang in the middle of it, Sensei is at some point hit with overwhelming inspiration to get back and do some calligraphy, not for the purpose of improving his technical skill or knowledge, but to get down on paper the new emotions he was just consumed by, and these moments of inspiration have on more than one occasion gotten him into more trouble. The personalities of each kid that befriends Sensei are so naturally brought out through all the aspects of the visuals and sound, but most impressively by the voice performances from a similarly aged cast. Each of them has unique and vibrant personalities that you can easily imagine interacting in different scenarios that we don't see. You really feel like a part of this family of kids who have grown up together and had this strange, childish adult thrown into their little shenanigans, some of which probably went largely unnoticed by the other adults and elders of the island. But now we get to see their goofy endeavours, whether it be the teenagers posing as bad influences on the younger kids, or a hilarious series of misunderstandings on the part of one obsessive otaku who is repeatedly disturbed by these callbacks to her deepest dark guilty pleasure. The contrast between them all, and especially compared to Sensei, is the biggest telltale sign of Sensei's transformation across each episode, and by the end of the series you have a really strong understanding of the profound impact they've had on him, leading to his new outlook on life. Even if he needs a little nudge to try something new, the kids and adults of the island are always there to support him if he should stumble. Not always intentionally, as there's a few occasions that get him in more trouble, but it gives Sensei the determination to mend the mistake and accomplish that task. The intense worry of messing up on a canvas he until now had never painted on is completely washed away when the responsibilities of the choice he was mulling over is removed entirely. There are certain key moments like this where he learns to trust his talent a little and dive into an unfamiliar task instead of applying the perfectionist anxiety from his competition artwork to a comparatively casual assignment. Whatever happens, happens, and he should just make the most of it.
My friend Kawafuji! My friend forever! Kawafuji! Handa!
Sensei's not the only one who is changed on some level by their visit to the island. Halfway through the series, he's visited by his friend and a rival calligrapher, a self-proclaimed big fan who replicates Sensei's style in his own work. While Sensei's friend was visiting mostly to check up on him and discover the truth of their lack of contact, which just turns out to be a case of Sensei's phone being broken, the young calligrapher comes with his own naive agenda of witnessing his idol in action and hoping to bring him back to civilization, back to his old ways for the sake of the art of calligraphy. Although he kind of means well by it, he's also just doing so to aid his own selfish desire to see Sensei return to his old self, and his comments towards Sensei almost bring back that gloomy mindset, with thoughts of the competition and the pressure of developing his artistic style all rushing back. But all it takes is the same old careless bliss from Naru standing up on Sensei's roof overlooking them both as a reminder of all he's learned on the island and bringing him back to the carefree Sensei we've known across these episodes. There's something so genuinely heartwarming about this moment, from Sensei's reaction to Naru, who is suitably unaware of the effect she has had on his mindset and simply being herself, to the unashamed pretentiousness of the young calligrapher, who until recently Sensei closely resembled. He's confused at first why Sensei is, in his eyes, willingly tarnishing his own textbook perfect style, which he admires to the point of studying and copying it himself. But there's a definite moment where you see his attitude towards the island change that is very reminiscent of the same moment Sensei experienced in episode 1. It's no coincidence that at this moment, when he is alone on the pier and he sort of makes peace with the island, that they get a hold of the fish they'd been hunting all episode. There aren't really any words that need to be spoken to show his change, you can just feel it in his overall demeanour from that point on, although he does express his gratitude to Sensei before leaving, and sure enough, on their played ride back to the rest of civilization, he is already reminiscing about his time on the island with wishes of coming back there someday soon. When we're coming to the end of the series and Sensei unexpectedly returns home to submit his piece to the contest, we really get the first proper look at what his life was like before visiting the island. An episode where he is away from the fun of his friends is also the only episode not to feature the opening sequence, which along with the ending sequence is extremely strong indicator of Barakamon's themes. In typical Sensei fashion, he ruins the art piece he had prepared in fear that it wouldn't meet the chairman's expectations, especially after how much his words affected him at the start of this story. So now he must create a new piece, except he no longer has the opportunities he had when on the island to forget about everything until those moments of extreme inspiration hit. In order to rekindle that atmosphere, he does various deranged things, like tying his hair the same way Naru does, and tying up his friends in a different kind of way. Where these attempts fail, all it takes is a short phone call to the friends he left behind to give him the emotions he needs, not to create the best possible scoring art piece, but to create something that he wants to in that moment, something to appreciate how the island has changed him and begin his journey on expressing his feelings through a new style that will become uniquely his, something removed from the copycat perfect way he approached calligraphy some weeks ago.
どうだすげえだろこんな字書いたのは初めてだよタイトルは 石垣。
He's found the passion in his work and a way to make his art personal instead of being a meta-commentary on the medium itself. No longer is it just lines on paper for other like-minded critics to enjoy, but a personalised painting that, as the industry adapts to, may prove to be more memorable and thought-provoking than any of his previous award-winning pages. And just as he decides his own path to head down with calligraphy, he also does so in regards to new life experiences. Over an absurd heated conversation amongst Sensei's family, he makes the decision to return to the island, and it feels more like a strong decision to indefinitely stay there for good rather than just visiting. The constraining rooms of his city home, where he had obsessively practiced locked away in the dark, now seems so distant to the open-air freedom of the island, and as we see, within moments of him setting foot back here, he's still the same old clumsy, awkward person. Almost as if repeating the first episode, he rides with the same old farmer, Naru's grandpa, and they both share that vast ocean view, except this time it's obvious to us what the farmer meant all that time ago. Stood on the back of that truck, instead of commenting on his inability to appreciate the ocean's beauty, he simply says how nice it is because of the weather, even though the scene is almost identical to that in the first episode, and at that time the farmer sort of comforted Sensei by suggesting that it isn't something wrong with him that the ocean looks barren, but that the weather just isn't interesting at that time. It is obvious here how much Sensei has changed and how much the island has stayed the same, and this contrast of happiness and warmth versus the depressed cold of Sensei in episode 1 leaves both Sensei and the farmer with a shared understanding and smiles on their faces. Now Sei Handa can see what Naru gets so excited about whenever she sees that special view, and Gramps repeating his own words and thoughts from episode 1 back at him, nothing special about it, cements that feeling of being home. Everything is exactly where it should be.
他のセユットはここまでだ。畑にいるかばんじゃさい。がすさんだ時こそ見もんぞ。分かっちょらんね。
As if the show's message and Sensei's journey needed to be spelt out anymore, after he meets back up with all the kids at his home and Sensei sits with Naru in the midst of the excitement, she says what he really needed to hear to cap off his growth.
先生、いろいろあっけど、みんなとおっと楽しかね。
The last words they exchange to see the episode to its end between him and Naru, where she exemplifies that careless bliss he acknowledged seconds ago, is icing on the cake. Her saying that after he was so shy to say the meaning behind his calligraphy he submitted to the contest is so wholesome, almost like she is, in her own blissful way, speaking for the rest of the group and returning his feelings of those cherished memories of fun they all had together back to him. The stone wall, created by Sensei in admiration of both the wall he and Naru climbed in episode 1 to see that sunset, which opened up this whole new world to him, and also the wall he helped build with the various individual stones and rocks, is representative of the core values and themes of Barakamon. In an anime that ironically abides by the closed mindset Sensei once had towards calligraphy, that the simplicity and mastery of the basic fundamentals is what's best, shows us how the friends we make along the way and separate experiences can help us reach new heights to see a view we would otherwise had never had the pleasure of being mesmerized by.
言葉はなくとも先生背中は語っちょいよ。
And all of these pieces built closely together form a long-lasting and effective structure for each and every character involved. Despite his earlier attempts to ignore the chaos around him, it is after Sensei accepts the random adventures and welcomes these detours in his life that he reaches an unseen destination. And although this message resides a little under the surface of the hectic comedic happenings of each adventure, they are so strong and are what makes Barakamon so special.
いつまで感化されるよ。
カンカ
この時間こそが大切ってことだ。わかるか？
ようわからん。